This one I should know, all right. It was a dream I had. I went to school in hell for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years I walked home and I said to my mother, I'm never going back to that school, I would rather be dead. And she said, why? What is it? Is it the maths? Because she knew maths could make me weak when nothing else could. And I said, no, it's more the torture. And she said, what? So I told her a little bit. I told her about 5%, because I was too ashamed to tell her anymore. Because that's what happens with victims. They're too ashamed to tell anymore, the parents. And she listened. She was a wonderful mother, and she listened, and she believed me, and she sent me to a little school in heaven, where they cured me as far as I could. I still got the scars, if you want to. No, don't. We'll hear them in the poem, I hope. The scars, or 5% of the scars. That's all, because I'm too ashamed to write anymore. It was hard to write about, but I started to go into schools, and sometimes I would go into schools and they were wonderful, welcoming primary schools where, you know, they longed to write poetry and liked each other, liked their teachers. But then I would go to some other schools where you open the door and you could smell the fear right away, right? No question. Back in the playground blues. Well, I dreamed I was back in the playground. I was standing about 4 feet high. I dreamed I was back in the playground and standing about 4 feet high. Well, the playground was 3 miles long, and the playground was 5 miles wide. It was broken black tarmac with a high fence running all the way around, broken black dusty tarmac with a high wire fence all the way around, and it had a special name to it. They called it the killing ground. I've got a mother and a father, they're 1,000 years away. The rulers of the killing ground are coming out to play. Everybody's thinking, who they're going to play with today. Well, you get it for being Jewish, and you get it for being black. You get it for being chicken, and you get it for fighting back. You get it for being big and fat, you get it for being small, or those who get it, you get it for any damn thing at all. Sometimes they take a beetle, tear up his 6 legs one by one, beetle on his black back, rocking in the lunchtime sun. But a beetle can't beg for mercy. A beetle's not half the fun. I heard a deep voice talking. It had that iceberg sound. It prepares them for life. I've never found any place in my life worse than the killing ground. I read that in schools, and sometimes afterwards a kid will come up and say, well, it's happened, what do I do? And you don't know the kid, you don't know the school, but I mean, what I do say, and what I always tell kids in schools after I've read this poem is, if it's happening to you, if they're doing it to you, and they won't stop, I don't mean just one day, but if they keep on and they won't stop, you've got to get help, you've got to get adult help, absolutely adult help. You've got to talk to your parents, you've got to talk to your teacher. If all else fails, if your parents aren't interested or too busy, if your teacher doesn't believe you, there's always Childline. You go to Childline. You ring them and get help. You've got to get, adult help, and you can't really go much further than that, until you know the child. So I'm glad that poem is used in schools. What's the latest one I read? I've just been in, just before I had this lung business. I've nearly said a year. I spent a month in Shetland, which is one of the most beautiful places in the world. That was wonderful. I was invited to go there to work with children in primary schools in Shetland, and I did that for a month. And it was marvelous. It just about killed me. But it was wonderful. It wasn't the children's fault. They were a delight. And there was one time when I went into a school that turned out my visit, in which I did a show for children called 13 Secrets of Poetry, in which I unfold 13 brightly coloured bundles, and each one has a secret of how to write poetry. And I've done it all over the world, and I was doing it in Shetland for these children. But they told me, we've got the inspectors in today. We've got the inspectors in. So we had to take some children out after about, 3/4 of an hour. So I said, well, all right, I cut down my show to 3/4 of an hour, but they've got to stay for the whole show. And everyone was mad. The teachers were running crazy. And at the end of it, about 3 poems from the end, a guy came in, grabbed 4 children, led them out in the middle of a poem. That's how I opened the door and shouted the rest of the poem down the corridor. Hoping it might reach seats up. I don't know. But bloody hell. Was a shame and a pity. But the children were great. They went back 2 weeks later and they'd all written marvellous poems, so what the hell. Except the teacher, because she was so nervous because of the exam that she hadn't managed to remember to write her own poem. But anyway, so I wrote this poem for them, and when I went back, I read this in the staff room, actually. I burst into the staff room and read them this, because it's a school where they, if you get a break, it suddenly seems like there's bombs dropped, and there's no adults around. Anywhere. The children are all outside playing. Where are the adults? They're in the shelter. It's like I remember in the war. They're in the shelter, man. Terrible tea. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I read this poem there. Thank you very much. I'm not naming this school. It was the inspector's. Our school is the best in the world. When the inspectors came to inspect us, they asked me, who's in charge? I opened the door of the staff room, and there were all our teachers, standing around the piano, wearing no clothes at all, and singing, YMCA! The children liked it, the teachers actually.